You think it doesn't touch your family. You think it's going to happen outside of your world.
Tonight, multiple North Carolina state senators are pushing for something known as the Good Samaritan Law to expand. Senate Bill 458 encourages people to call 911 in overdose emergencies by providing immunity to the person who overdosed and the person who called. News 13's Taylor Thompson spoke with two mothers who say this expansion would have saved their sons' lives.
Advocates say 11 people overdose daily in our state, but an overdose doesn't have to mean death if people could just feel safer calling for help. On Wednesday, legislators and advocates rallied for support of Senate Bill 458. It would expand the current Good Samaritan Law.
North Carolina's Good Samaritan Law was passed in 2013. I was done with good intention, but we've learned since that there's some limiting effects to it. The drug supply has changed. Too many people are dying, needless overdose deaths, and this year is time to reevaluate.
Lisa Falbo and Michelle Rogers are both moms too familiar with the battle of addiction as they both lost their sons to it.
I said to my son, for God's sake, just stop. Like, it's ruining your life, right? Just freaking stop. And he said to me, Mom, do you think I want to live like this? We don't choose the disease that we're struck with.
If this law had been expanded or known about, it could have saved my son's life because there was somebody with my son when he passed.
Right now, the law only provides immunity to the person who overdosed and the person who calls 911. The expansion would provide immunity to everyone there.
What if this law, this expanded law, had been there when your son overdosed?
He could be here. Mm-hmm. He could be here right now. His life could have been spared.
The possibility of there being 4 or 5 people together is huge. And so if just 2 or 3 are afraid that they're going to go to jail because this one person overdosed, then nobody's going to call 911. The possibility of there being 4 or 5 people together is huge. And so if just 2 or 3 are afraid that they're going to go to jail.
Neither see a legitimate argument for pushback, but a stigma around addiction still exists.
And there's that stigma piece to it because there's still a lot of misinformation and out there about substance use and people that use substances, and a lot of, looking down on those people. And is their life really worth saving? Let's face it, that attitude is out there.
Whether you have a loved one with substance use disorder or not, it's out there and it's real.
And advocates are asking for everyone to be on the lookout for petitions to sign to encourage lawmakers to vote yes on expanding this law and ultimately saving lives.
Several homeowners reached out to News 13's help desk, voicing their frustrations with a local contractor.
The callers say they paid for work on their homes that was never completed. After winning in small claims court, the victims now wonder when a contractor's actions turn criminal.
News 13's Karen Zakalak checked with an attorney to find out.
How do people sleep at night after doing this to so many people?
The anger is obvious when you talk to Daniel Linden, and it's all because of his kitchen floor. It needed an upgrade back in 2021. So Linden says he hired a contractor who'd been recommended, Scott Salgado with SS Custom Designs. He says he paid him $3,000 for flooring materials and installation.
He came here, seemed like a really good guy, honest guy, and nothing could have been further from the truth.
Linden showed us the months of text messages with Salgado. In the end, he says some of the flooring material was delivered, but none of the work was done.
At what point did you realize this guy's not going to do this?
After a while, it just becomes more and more frustrating and aggravating.
Linden took his case to small claims court where a judge ruled in his favor, saying Salgado owed him nearly $1,000. But he says he still hasn't seen a cent.
At this point, is it even about the money?
No, this is the principle. The aggravation that we went through for a good 8 months to a year, it's awful. Nobody should have to go through this.
He's not the only victim. Hasmukh Patel went through a similar ordeal with his flooring and also won in civil court. Records show Salgado owes him more than $2,000.
What's the most frustrating part of this whole process for you?
There's no outcome on that. In a sense, even though, yes, there is a paper that says that we won, However, there's no confidence that next person would not be scammed.
We checked court records in both Henderson County and Polk County and found even more victims. From 2016 to 2022, there were a total of 7 judgments against Salgado, adding up to nearly $25,000 owed to the victims. After leaving Scott Salgado several voice messages, he finally called back, saying the delays in work were because of delays in materials. And he initially told us that he would speak with us. But despite several follow-up attempts to sit down with him, he never met up for an interview.
At what point does this guy go away in cuffs? You know? It's just wrong.
We also learned that Salgado has actually been charged criminally in the past. 3 felony obtaining property under false pretenses, all dismissed. And 2 misdemeanor failure to work after being paid, also dismissed. According to court records, Salgado now faces 2 more pending charges in Polk County.
If, for example, you've paid someone and they've not done the work, there is a statute that allows for criminal prosecution of that behavior.
Attorney Barbara Bowers gave us tips for anyone in a situation like this.
So what you need to do to be proactive is file a police report. Collect and gather as much information as you can. If you end up paying someone and they don't do the work, you can also complain to their licensing board. If you do the civil side and win and do get a judgment, that can help the criminal side of things.
Karen Zakalak, News 13.
And Tammy, this will answer a question you had. According to the clerk at the courthouse, the cases in Henderson County were dismissed for various reasons. They include witnesses not appearing in court and it not being in the state's best interest to prosecute.
We also reached out to the North Carolina Attorney General's office, and they said there has been 2 complaints against the flooring company.
This is the ignition point, and this house was in immediate danger. Firefighters were taking every step to save this house.
It was all hands on deck over the weekend as crews worked to extinguish a large wildfire on Spivey Mountain in Buncombe County. Now, days later, those same crews are studying the specifics of that fire because the way it burned is a rare occurrence for the East Coast. Scorched soil now covering much of Spivey Mountain. Saturday's wildfire burning through an estimated 75 acres. The flames within feet of people's homes, prompting evacuations. Krista Holtz given minutes to get out.
I was grabbing random things, and as I was doing it, I was thinking there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm grabbing right now.
Fortunately, no structures damaged and no injuries reported. The charred aftermath, an eerie sight. But it's the view from above that's really telling, says Chief Dennis Fagnant.
The fire actually got into the canopy, and so that is more reminiscent of a western fire than an eastern fire. Not that it doesn't happen here, it's just very rare for it to.
West Buncombe Fire Department now studying this drone footage as post-video analysis. An effort to learn from this complex fire, understand why it spread the way it did, and further improve response tactics.
This fire, by the end of it, required a 100% full-time personnel recall for the West Buncombe Fire Department. Every fire apparatus owned by West Buncombe, with the exception of 2, were on scene somewhere here this weekend. And that included all our mutual aid partners within Buncombe County, North Carolina Forest Service, and U.S. Forest Service.
According to the North Carolina Forest Service, high winds toppling a tree onto power lines started this wildfire. Conditions, unfortunately, ideal for it to spread quickly.
We're in what we call our spring fire season. This is a period of time where the trees haven't greened out, and so there's a lot of fuel.
The U.S. Forest Service is investing more than $1 million to protect parts of the state from wildfires. It's all part of a grant program. Nearly $1.4 million will be used to help communities, nonprofits, and state forestry agencies with planning and mitigating wildfire risks. Project sites in our region include Yancey, Mitchell, Graham, Clay, and Cherokee counties.